Bonjour, bienvenue, welcome to Garage Guzzoline. Or hello and welcome to Guzzoline Garage, because my French is terrible. We are somewhere at the moment between Bordeaux and Montpellier. I sort of meant to film quite a lot more of this, because what we've done is we've taken the F-Type out into France. But it's my first time driving in France, so there was quite a lot for me to get used to. And I wasn't really sure how it all worked, so filming was kind of quite low down on the list of priorities. But now I've sort of settled into it and got used to it, I'm going to try and put something together. So, as I say, we're heading to Montpellier, but we've already been. We came via Le Shuttle, or the Eurotunnel, and we went to Reims, and we stayed overnight in Reims, but we stayed on the outskirts in a little place called Verzenay, famous for champagne. And then we went over to Sainte-Mère-Église in Normandy and had a look around some of the World War II stuff there, around D-Day and what have you. And then from Sainte-Mère-Église we went up to Cherbourg, popped through an aquarium and the City of the Sea there. And then we've also been down to Le Mans, where I drove part of the circuit. And then last night we stayed in Bordeaux. One thing I have got used to in France so far is these autoroutes. I'm sat on cruise control now at an indicated 84 mile an hour, which works out at 130k as a realistic speed. That's the upper speed limit that you can do on these roads. But they're silky smooth, and it's so much faster and better than any UK road I've ever been on. They are toll roads and they are somewhat expensive, but I really don't mind paying a little bit of money when the road is this good. Everything is silky smooth, not a single pothole to be seen, and when there's roadworks and maintenance going on, they tend to only close one lane off and just drop the speed down to about 70 mile an hour, 110 kilometres. And it all flows so freely and brilliantly. So far on the trip we've done, where are we? 1,433 miles. And we've averaged 56 miles an hour across the entire country, which I think is incredible. We've also obviously been doing a little bit of pottering around in the cities and towns that we visited and what have you. And we're averaging around 33 miles to the gallon as well. So yeah, so far I've settled into it and it's going pretty well. The plan is to go to Montpellier on the outskirts, and then we're going to go to Monaco, then to Lyon, then to Reims, and back home via Le Shuttle again. But we're going to try and find some nice driving roads in between, and I'm going to try and drive part of the Monaco F1 circuit, or as much as you can do, and we'll try and get some of that on film. So we're about an hour away from Montpellier, and the scenery's changed dramatically. I thought I'd speak a little bit about the weather we've had on the trip. We are doing this in sort of the middle/tail end of February. What are we now? We are 17th of February, and there's a few more days to go. So I wasn't expecting the world from weather anyway, but Normandy was fairly grey and drizzly, and Bordeaux has recently had a lot of flood warnings and stuff. The rivers that we've passed over have all been really swollen, in danger of bursting their banks, and several trees underwater and flooded fields everywhere. But hopefully you can sort of see around us now. The sky's brightening up a bit, it's getting a bit bluer as we're getting more towards the south. So we'll see a tiny bit of sunshine and some slightly warmer weather. But I thought I'd speak a little bit about the car as well. I'm really pleased with how the car's gone on this trip. Obviously I've done a fairly major sort of set of repairs and upgrades to it, and I was a little bit nervous about taking it on a long distance trip. But on the flip side of that, the whole reason that I did the wide pipe upgrades and the aluminium pipes and bits and bobs was because I wanted to take it on a long trip, and I didn't want the plastic stuff to fail, as they fairly often do, in the middle of France somewhere, and us to be a bit stranded. So I'm real pleased with how the car's done. I was a bit wary as well because it's quite a firm car, and for such a wide and long car it's not too comfy, but as I've said earlier, the roads here are so smooth that the comfort hasn't been an issue at all. It's a fairly tight and cramped cabin still, for two people even, but it's been alright. I've really enjoyed it. There's only really been a couple of minor annoyances I've had with the car. The rear wing still kind of annoys me when it pops up over 72 miles an hour. Because the autoroutes are a little bit faster than the normal motorways in England, especially if there's speed cameras and what have you around, then you kind of find that the rear wing pops up for no real reason and creates a load of drag, and just harms your fuel economy for no real reason without any benefit from it. The other thing is that because this is a UK car, obviously the cruise control is still working in miles an hour, even though I've got the digital speedo set to kilometres an hour. So that means that you can't always be exactly on the money for the speed limit. So you're normally either 2 or 3k above or below the speed limit, depending where the miles an hour settle out for that particular speed. It'd be nice if the cruise control operated in Ks when you set the speedo to Ks. It's also something that I've noticed, I don't know if it's just like a modern car thing nowadays or what, but certainly the older cars I'm used to, you'd get an indication of miles an hour and kilometres on your analogue gauge, and this car's only got miles an hour. But everything else about it's been awesome. I haven't really seen any other Jaguars in France. I think I've seen about 5 on the road. An old S-Type, an XF, and an F-Pace, and I think that was about it. They're obviously just not popular over here. Maybe that's because they hate the English or something, I don't know. This is a random little clip, but we've stopped on the A8 between Marseille and Nice at just a service station off the autoroute. But it just strikes me how incredibly beautiful even a service station can be in France. Everything is absolutely immaculately clean, and you're among these fantastic mountains, and everything's just awesome. I absolutely love it. So after Montpellier, we passed through Nice, where the traffic was mental, with motorbikes weaving in and out. The streets were pretty narrow, and give way wasn't really a concept. If there was a gap, you went. It was a bit like Ayrton Senna's racing driving philosophy. We took the Grand Corniche out of Monaco, which is one of 3 sort of fairly famous roads that do that coastline between Nice and Monaco. There's like a high one, a medium one and a low one. And I think they're called like the Grand, the medium, and I can't remember what the lower one's called. But through a few little pretty towns and villages and then down some twisties, that took us into Monaco. going that slowly, I'm even holding the builders up in their vans. Lovely little Panda 4x4. Little Fiat. Once we arrived in Monaco, I managed to sneak away from the hotel room into the hotel parking because I noticed as we was arriving and parking up that we passed all kinds of really nice, delightful cars and exotica, stuff you don't normally see. So I'll take you on a little tour and have a little nosy around there. So I'm still in Monaco and I've snuck down into the hotel parking because I wanted to show you around. It's absolutely full of lovely, lovely, very desirable cars around here. I think that's a 718 Superfast, but I'm not sure. And this is only about the 6th Jaguar that I've seen in the entirety of France. God knows what's under these two, but they look like they'll be well cared for. Actually, you can just see the back there. I reckon she's a Silver Shadow, don't you? Another lovely Ferrari. Not too clued upon what that is. Is that an Alfa Romeo Giulia, I think? Lovely either way. Another gorgeous little classic. I think that's a Seicento, isn't it? A 600. Well, Defender's a bit of a rarity over here. F-Pace SVR. That's a lovely motor. Possibly on the horizon for me now that I've got a little boy on the way. There's an interesting game for you. What's under the cover? I'm going with an old Mercedes of some kind, I think. Don't know. And here we've got an Aston Martin Rapide S. Again, something I've been looking at now that I've got a little one on the way. Would offer me a little bit more space. Looks to be a Ferrari 458. Under record. Fantastic. Another F-Pace SVR. And over here, something fairly special. Well, it looks like a 996 turbo. And a Diablo. And a Lotus Esprit. Another 911 turbo. A Mercedes SLS, I think. Or an AMG GT. I think it's the AMG GT. Nice though. And I think this could be a 348 Ferrari. Gorgeous. Play a game of what's under the cover. I'm going to say it's a 996 Porsche 911, I reckon. Wheel at the back might be a clue. Oh, I definitely didn't expect that. What looks to be a World War II Willys Jeep. And a very tasteful WRX STI. Looks like it would probably be a Hawkeye, I think, from that. My favourite. Oh, look at that. There's my Jaguar F-Type. And I've got a 911 stablemate as well. I do want this kind of shape, maybe a little bit earlier or a bit later. 911 Turbo S maybe as the next car after the F. And a G-Wagon. They seem to be sort of 10 a penny round here at the minute. Every man and his dog's driving one. Monaco itself was absolutely incredible. Really clean, really quiet, peaceful, and felt very, very safe. And before we were leaving, we absolutely had to do a lap of the F1 circuit, although I did get a little bit lost around the casino area.
So back home after the trip, we're like months down the line because I found this video really hard to put together because made a few mistakes, didn't quite film enough stuff, and it was hard keeping it sort of relevant and interesting. What you've ended up with is like 17 minutes of dashcam footage and 8 minutes of me just prattling on about nothing really. But I really enjoyed the trip. I would definitely go and do something again. It was my first European trip, but I perhaps bit off a bit more than I could chew. We only had like 1 day in each place and not even a full day really, because we were travelling sort of anywhere between sort of 3 to 6 hours per day, which is a lot of time on the road. But at least now we've seen quite a lot of France, and I know there's bits that I'd definitely like to go back to and bits that I'm less likely to want to go back to. Long and short of it is, I would 100% recommend it if it's something that you're even slightly interested in going and doing. And I'll try and put a little video together on like what the requirements are and certain things that you should think about and things you need to go and have a look at before you go there. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, well done. Please do like it, comment on the video, ask me anything you want to ask, whatever. But I know it wasn't like the best, most interesting video ever, so yeah. Thanks for watching, bye bye, and I'll see you in the next one.